The 26th of January, 2026. Windsor Confidential Royal Exclusive. This is no longer a family dispute. It's a constitutional reckoning. The monarchy is drawing a line, and Harry has 30 days to decide which side he's on. In a move unprecedented in modern royal history, King Charles III has issued a personal yet institutionally ratified ultimatum to his youngest son, Prince Harry: divorce Meghan Markle within 30 days or face total and irreversible exile from the British royal family. Delivered via a confidential diplomatic channel personally escorted by Lord Alderton, Music, the King's private secretary, the letter arrived at the Sussex residence in Montecito, California on the 9th of January, 2026. According to palace insiders, Lord Alderton waited inside the secured compound for nearly an hour as Harry read the 11-page document alone. The mood, according to an unnamed staff member, was somber, like witnessing the end of a dynasty. The terms laid out are non-negotiable. Harry must initiate divorce proceedings against Meghan Markle, legally dissolve the marriage under both US and UK jurisdictions, and agree to a formal period of monitored reintegration within the UK under a special protocol designed by the Royal Standards and Conduct Council, RSC. In return, Harry will be allowed to return to Britain with his children Archie and Lilet as a non-representative royal. He will retain the title of prince but without restoration of duties, privileges, or symbolic functions. The Duke of Sussex title along with associated coats of arms, patronages, and security entitlements will not be reinstated unless or until the RSC completes its indefinite review process. This reintegration process will be overseen by a triad of royal auditors. Princess Anne, the Princess Royal and de facto head of disciplinary affairs within the monarchy. Sir Nigel Pembridge, Royal Counsel for Constitutional Integrity. Lady Eleanor Havisham, Chair of the Royal Ethics Review Board. The oversight body will examine Harry's compliance with royal behavioral codes, public statements, music, and media involvement post-divorce, educational and environmental stability provided to his children. His ability to navigate life within the Crown's values without public dramatization or commercial exploitation. This process has no fixed end date. It may last months. It may last decades. It may never conclude. Should Harry refuse or ignore the ultimatum, the consequences are final. Complete removal from the line of succession, revocation of all titles including Duke of Sussex, Earl of Dumbarton, Baron Kilkeel, permanent withdrawal of funding from the Duchy of Cornwall and any royal trust entities, eviction from Frogore Cottage's symbolic registry, termination of heraldic rights to display any Windsor crest or insignia, ineligibility for any ceremonial participation, including royal funerals, jubilees, or coronations. Perhaps most symbolically crushing, his children will also lose their status as royal descendants under the Sovereign Grandchildren Protection Clause, quietly amended in 2024 after the Sussex family's commercial partnerships with Netflix and Spotify sparked institutional uproar. The language in the letter, which was partially leaked by a source within the Sussex household, reveals an emotionally layered narrative not just of a monarch executing constitutional duty, but of a father confronting personal heartbreak. You chose her once and I respected it. But the choice to continually dishonor your heritage, to reduce the institution to a currency of spectacle that I cannot condone. Diana would want peace, not permanence in rebellion. She would want your children to feel protected, not positioned. King Charles reportedly reflected on past accusations made by Harry, particularly the widely circulated claim that Charles was emotionally distant after Princess Diana's death. You say I did not hold you enough when you cried, Charles writes. Perhaps that's true, but I am holding you now not in arms, but in consequence. The language here is not vindictive. It is firm, sorrowful, and laced with the vocabulary of finality. The origins of this ultimatum trace back to a private 50-minute meeting between Charles and Harry on the 18th of September, 2025 at Clarence House. According to multiple palace aides, Charles proposed a reconciliation pathway, but under one condition: Meghan Markle would not be part of any institutional future. Harry reportedly refused outright, stating, "I am a husband first, not a prince." That moment, sources say, was the snap point. It marked the end of 5 years of olive branches and the beginning of institutional resolve. Charles, after consultation with the Privy Council and senior royals, authorized the drafting of the letter just weeks later. Sources close to Buckingham Palace say this is not merely an emotional reaction. It is a strategic constitutional safeguard. The monarchy cannot afford ambiguity. One official stated, "You are either in or out. You cannot monetize the grey zone." He bracked a desol by issuing this ultimatum now amid renewed media speculation. Collapsing Sussex brand deals and escalating public backlash. Charles sends a message not only to Harry but to the world. The crown will not be undermined from within. No royal title can exist outside royal responsibility. No family name can be used to destroy the family that gave it meaning. In that minus he won a like 5. Excerpt from King Charles III ultimatum letter to Prince Harry. In the second half of King Charles III's now infamous 11-page ultimatum, attention turns from the emotional appeal of a father to the firm hand of a reigning monarch. The tone shifts subtle but unmistakable from sorrow to scrutiny. Charles outlines in point-by-point fashion how Prince Harry has violated the royal code of conduct and why those violations now disqualify him from enjoying any residual privilege of the crown unless he formally returns, repents, and recommits. This is not personal retaliation. This is codified accountability. First compiled under King George V in 1923 and last updated in 2014 during Queen Elizabeth II's reign. The Royal Code of Conduct, commonly referred to inside the palace as the Music Cex Conducta Regalis, governs two key domains: public-facing expectations for all members of the royal family, internal ethical obligations between royal relatives and the Crown institution. The code is not a ceremonial guideline. It is a living charter enforced quietly by the Royal Standards and Conduct Council, RSCC, and the Lord Chamberlain's office. Breaches are tracked, categorized, and when necessary, acted upon behind closed doors until now. According to Charles's letter, Prince Harry has triggered at least 6 major breaches of this code over the past 6 years. The list is detailed, specific, and organized chronologically, leaving no room for debate or deflection. Charles references the Meghan announcement made on the 8th of January, 2020 via Instagram and Sussex Royal. A move made, according to the King, without forewarning, without music approval, and without regard for the national constitutional timetable. Code Reference Section 2, Subpart A. No royal may unilaterally alter or announce changes to official status without coordination through the Sovereign's Council and in accordance with succession security protocols. Charles underlines that this announcement preempted national institutions, causing diplomatic confusion among Commonwealth partners. Harry and Meghan's lucrative Netflix $100 million and Spotify $125mm deals are cited as direct monetization of royal identity, violating the Crown's long-standing ban on passive monetization of inherited status. Code Reference Section I Subpart D. Royal titles, ranks or historical affiliations may not be used as implicit or explicit leverage for paid partnerships, endorsements, or intellectual property. B. Times of the Felder. The letter claims these deals capitalized on access to private royal memories, behind-the-scenes footage, and associations with formal events, even as Harry claimed to have stepped away from royal life. Violation Number 3: Defamation of immediate family, 2021-2023. Charles condemns public attacks made in interviews and media projects, especially the Oprah Winfrey interview 2021 and the publication of Spare 2023. In these, Harry described William as physically violent, Charles as emotionally cold, and Queen Camilla as scheming. The King states that while familial disagreements are inevitable, airing them internationally constitutes a betrayal of private trust and undermines the unity the monarchy relies upon. What we whisper at Sandringham should not become content for California. We have so might have to 7 times to the 1. We have some the room in spice of reasons. King Charles III ultimatum letter. During Queen Elizabeth II's funeral events in September 2022, Harry reportedly tried to wear his military uniform despite not holding active duty. The letter cites this as a symbolic breach and an attempt to assert relevance during a moment of national mourning. Code Reference Section 3 SUBP Part C. Use of military insignia must reflect current, honorary, or active standing with approval from Buckingham Palace or the Ministry of Defence. In A State for Me, the letter accuses Harry and Meghan of strategically invoking Archie and Lyot's royal lineage during interviews and charity appeals while simultaneously keeping them out of royal protocol and rejecting Church of England traditions. This is described as a deeply contradictory behavior that jeopardizes their identity more than it protects it. Charles affirms titles are not shields, they are roles. If you will not raise them in the monarchy, do not demand they wear its name. 80. The final and perhaps most damning point involves Harry's private requests for financial relief sent to Lord G and the Duchy of Cornwall in late 2024. These came just weeks before Harry's Netflix episode aired in which he described royal life as a golden cage built of silence and snobbery. Charles remarks, "The contradiction is not lost on the public, nor is it lost on me, my capless." One paragraph in the letter explicitly references Harry's September 2025 interview in which he said, "My father never once called to ask how I was doing. Not after the birth of my daughter, not after we were chased in New York, not even after I begged for help." The King counters by revealing that a video call invitation was sent by Lord Alderton on the 24th of May, 2023 and declined by Harry's assistant, Music, due to media filming commitments. Dodapaction be chapter sins. This moment, according to Charles, crystallized the tragic gap between perception and effort. It also fueled the decision to propose during the 50-minute Clarence House meeting later that year that any reconciliation must exclude Meghan. Charles concludes this portion of the letter by stating that if Harry agrees to divorce, he may return under supervised re-entry subject to these conditions. Residence, a secured royal estate, likely Sandringham Annex or one of the auxiliary properties in Windsor Park outfitted for Archie and Lilat. Citizenship rights, full UK residency and diplomatic travel protections for the children. Education, equal access to schools offered to Prince George and Princess Charlotte. Public appearances, none. Harry will not represent the monarchy nor speak on behalf of it. Symbolic status. Prince but without HR or any operational duties. Evaluation period indefinite. Subject to quarterly review by the RSC. Charles offers what he calls a bridge, not a throne. A return to family, but not to function. This isn't just about Harry choosing between a woman and a crown. It's about a man trapped between two collapsing worlds. One built on duty, the other on illusion. Lady Eleanor Havisham, RSCC Chair, off-record briefing, the 24th of January, 2026. As the royal deadline tightens, with just 13 days remaining, the emotional battlefield has shifted behind the hedged walls of Riven Rock, Montecito. Sources with direct knowledge of the Sussex household describe a total, music, lockdown, both physically and emotionally. According to multiple insiders, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are no longer united in strategy, nor in emotional tone. What began as a defiant stance is quickly morphing into a quiet unraveling. At the heart of the current fracture is a sharp divergence between Harry's inner conflict and Meghan's survival instinct. Those close to Harry describe him as haunted, withdrawn, and, music, deeply destabilized by the ultimatum. According to one staffer, Harry has stopped sleeping. He walks the garden at 3 a.m. alone. The King's letter appears to have cut deeper than expected, not because of the political implications, but because of the emotional finality. It wasn't just a command. It was a goodbye in advance. He's never fested. Sussex family associate speaking anonymously. In contrast, Meghan is described as furious, calculating, and terrified all at once. From her perspective, the monarchy's move is not a reckoning. It is an attack carefully timed to frame her as the wedge between father and son. She reportedly told a former publicist, "They want me erased, humiliated, financially destroyed. If Harry caves, they get everything they want. If he doesn't, I will lose him." Now tabling 2 in 17 now. While love and loyalty dominate public framing, money remains the silent gravity in this decision following the cancellation of the Spotify deal in late 2024 and the delayed release of their Netflix docu-series sequel. The Sussex household is reportedly experiencing severe cash flow strain. According to court documents obtained in Santa Barbara filed under LLCs associated with Archwell, several real estate maintenance vendors have issued formal payment warnings, and negotiations with Tyler Perry regarding a refinancing agreement for the Montecito mansion have stalled. In the royal letter, Charles offers limited transitional financial support if Harry divorces Meghan and returns with the children. But if Harry refuses, the following realities solidify. No more usage of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex title in any official context. Loss of symbolic weight in public speaking events, drastically reducing fee opportunities, loss of back-channel royal prestige and Hollywood deals. Removal from all charitable boards linked to Windsor heritage. As one royal economist put it bluntly, without the titles, they're a brand with no engine. Meghan knows this. Harry refuses to admit it. It's trouble. End quote. What makes this moment so volatile is that Harry is being forced to choose alone. Yet the outcome will devastate both paths. If he chooses divorce, he must live with the guilt of abandoning Meghan and their children's current lifestyle. If he chooses Meghan, he effectively buries his role in royal history and likely his remaining bond with King Charles, Prince William, and the monarchy's legacy forever. Observers recall Harry's past statements, particularly during his 2021 podcast appearance, where he said, "I didn't walk away from the family. I walked away from the pain. Music, I just wish they'd asked why." But now, the institution is not asking. It is demanding. Music. For Meghan Markle, this crisis is existential. Her public image is already brittle, especially after the Dubai gifting scandal, the legal mess involving her half-sister, and the failed lifestyle brand rollout in 2025. If Harry leaves her, she is left with no active titles, no income stream backed by royal status, no access to the monarchy, and worst of all, a public narrative that frames her as the downfall. No publisher wants a memoir called The Woman Who Lost a Prince. No studio funds a docu-series on royal exile if the central tension, access, and conflict is resolved. That's why insiders now say Meghan's only remaining strategy is to convince Harry that his father is bluffing and that this is a pressure tactic rather than a real consequence. The problem: Charles is not bluffing. She can't afford to lose him, but she also can't afford for him to return alone. This is the contradiction she's running out of time to solve. Number 5, if you want to this former Archewell insider, the 24th of January, 2026. As the 30-day deadline imposed by King Charles III draws closer, the question that looms louder than ever is this: what will Meghan Markle do if Prince Harry chooses to leave her behind? And more importantly, what options remain for her, both personally and publicly, if he doesn't? Behind the walls of Riven Rock, Montecito, a second chessboard is now in motion. One not defined by sentiment or legacy, but by legal viability, brand collapse, and reputational survival. In the past 72 hours alone, sources confirm Meghan has held 3 confidential meetings with her legal counsel, a crisis PR specialist based in Beverly Hills, and a financial auditor formerly associated with the Obama's Post Office Foundation team. For Meghan, the problem isn't just Harry's choice. It's the narrative no win awaiting her, regardless of outcome. If Harry chooses to leave her, the world will not frame her as the wounded party. Instead, the story will be brutal and unforgiving. The American actress who married into a monarchy, demanded reform, triggered exile, and ended up divorced twice. Even the most sympathetic media outlets will struggle to spin a narrative that doesn't center on ambition turned to isolation. This isn't a scandal. It's a Shakespearean ending, one former Netflix executive said, and she's being written out of the final act. But if Harry chooses to stay, the loss is no less profound. The monarchy will strip them of all royal identity. No more Sussex brands, no more access to the crown's mythology. Their children, Archie and Lyot, will never again be recognized as Windsor heirs, and all remaining deals with royal-adjacent cash will expire. From a strictly financial lens, Meghan is now backed into a corner. Let's examine the numbers. Spotify deal terminated in July 2024 after content disputes and low performance metrics. Estimated loss $15 million. Netflix first look deal exists, but was quietly renegotiated in late 2025 to a project-by-project basis with no fixed payout. Archewell Foundation under financial review after failing to deliver audited impact reports for 2 consecutive quarters. Montecito Mansion estimated monthly operational cost $83,000 staff, property tax, security, utilities. Current equity in the property disputed due to prior lien from Tyler Perry. The palace is acutely aware of these liabilities, and that is precisely why King Charles inserted a quiet clause at the end of the ultimatum. One final door left ajar for Meghan. While the public version of the ultimatum is harsh and binary, the actual letter sent to Harry, according to multiple royal sources, includes a confidential postscript addressed to Meghan herself. The note written in the king's own hand outlines a singular path by which Meghan may exit this chapter without total disgrace. Agree to a non-litigious, non-public divorce. Sign a formal letter renouncing all future use of royal titles or stories for commercial or political purposes. Accept a one-time non-renewable grant, music, rumored to be in the $34 million range to assist with resettlement and legal fees. Withdraw all claims of mistreatment made in media between 20 and 2025 and refrain from publishing any memoirs or docu-series about her time in the monarchy. If she accepts these terms, Meghan will be allowed to retain primary custody of Archie and Lyot in California, provided Harry has full access and joint decision-making rights regarding their education, healthcare, and spiritual upbringing. Furthermore, the Crown will not challenge her immigration status or request formal custody dispute resolution in UK courts. But this offer is conditional on silence and cooperation if she attempts to renegotiate, litigate, or weaponize the divorce. All provisions will be voided, and Meghan would face a coordinated institutional response involving both royal legal mechanisms and soft power influence in public diplomacy circles. What's most remarkable about this hidden clause is not the legal maneuvering. It's the balance between retribution and mercy. Charles, according to aides, sees Meghan as a destabilizing force, but also a mother and a woman who, despite everything, was once considered part of the family. I offer not punishment, but closure, he writes in the final paragraph. Let our children not be taught to fight ghosts for the rest of their lives. End quote. In the next IVS, to ready person as well, the message is clear. The monarchy is willing to let Meghan walk away with dignity if she lets the crown walk away unscathed. According to sources, Meghan is torn. Some believe she may secretly welcome an exit if she can spin it as empowerment rather than exile. Others say she's preparing to push back legally, perhaps via a carefully timed interview or legal filing to frame the monarchy as oppressive. But most agree on one thing. She is out of leverage. The days of documentaries, streaming contracts, and Global Voices headlines are behind her. What remains is reputation salvage, and the clock is ticking. They carry royal blood but not royal burden. Yet in this storm they've become symbols of both of them. It's nobody is their makestay. Lady Louise Windsor private remarks at Sandringham, January 2026. As the media fixates on Prince Harry's looming decision and Meghan Markle's legal calculations, a quieter but far more delicate battle unfolds beneath the headlines. One that centers on two innocent figures. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor and Lyot Diana Mountbatten Windsor. In King Charles's ultimatum, amid the stern commands and irrevocable consequences, a separate section was reserved entirely for the future of Harry's children. Notably, this part of the letter is the only section framed not as decree, but as conditional protection, a final act of mercy wrapped inside an institutional firewall. Because while the monarchy is prepared to sever Harry's royal identity should he choose to remain with Meghan, it has not yet decided the permanent status of Archie and Lyot. The reason? Their place in the crown's line of succession was always symbolic, but their personal fate is political. Archie and Lyot are the only grandchildren of the reigning monarch born outside the United Kingdom. They were not baptized in the Church of England. Music, they were not presented at Sandringham. They were not enrolled in any royal curriculum of etiquette. Nor did they attend any family functions during 2022-2025 beyond Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. By all traditional royal metrics, they, music, are not active heirs. And yet their names remain, at least for now, on the official order of succession where Archie is currently 6th and Lyot 7th behind Prince Louis. That, however, music, is about to change. In King Charles's letter, under Section 5, Future of the Windsor Line, the monarch outlines a proposal rooted in both compassion and caution. Should you return, and should the children be raised within the Crown's ethical structure, they shall retain full dignity and heritage. Should you decline, the House will make a formal declaration that Archie and Lyot are to be considered private citizens without titles, status, or symbolic affiliation to the Crown. Then it's not we're calling it. In essence, the fate of the children's identity is tethered to the father's decision. This is not blackmail. Palace aides insist it is protocol. Music, without participation in the monarchy's cultural and institutional life, the children cannot inherit symbolic privileges. The crown does not pass by DNA alone. It passes by integration. If Harry chooses to return, here is what Archie and Lyot would receive. Right to education within the Windsor education system, which includes placement at Marlborough College or St George's Ascot with royal security provisions, symbolic roles at future state ceremonies such as coronations, royal jubilees, and national remembrance events. Eligibility for stylized titles, that is to say, Lord Archie of Windsor, Lady Lisle of Cambridge, though not active HR status. Formal documentation within the heraldic registry of the Crown preserved at the College of Arms. Access to a trust inheritance branch from the late Queen's personal estate set aside for great-grandchildren raised within the Crown's guardianship model. These privileges are not merely ornamental. They represent an intergenerational guarantee of protection, prestige, and place. If Harry refuses the Crown's terms and remains in Montecito, the children will face the following. Revocation of all succession rights via a formal decree issued by the Sovereign Privy Council. Removal of legal access to any royal trust funds, including the George V-6th Education Reserve. Erasure from ceremonial record books maintained by the College of Arms, meaning their titles and lineage would no longer be recorded in future royal proceedings. Forfeit of passport privileges, which currently allow for expedited diplomatic travel under sovereign protection, permanent disqualification from future elevation, even if Harry seeks re-entry decades later. This would render Archie and Lyot, the first royal descendants in over 120 years, to be formally removed from all institutional affiliation, despite being direct grandchildren of a reigning sovereign. Beyond legal ramifications lies a far more poignant reality. The emotional displacement of two children born into royalty, but not raised inside it. Those close to Princess Catherine describe her as heartbroken over the idea that Lilith will grow up never knowing her cousins George, Charlotte, and Louis, not as peers, but as strangers on televised balconies. Princess Anne, ever the voice of principle, reportedly stated at a recent Windsor review, blood without structure becomes mythology. They are not myths. They are children, and they deserve order. Meanwhile, Prince William has privately expressed deep concern about the long-term psychological toll on both children if they are cut off entirely, only to later discover the legacy that was once theirs. He fears resentment, not just toward Harry, but toward the entire monarchy, says one Kensington source. One of the palace's greatest fears is that should Meghan and Harry remain outside the monarchy, the children will be positioned as narrative devices in future media content. Already, music executives have floated concepts of royal children in exile, a potential docu-series examining what it means to grow up Windsor by blood, American by circumstance. The risk, according to one courtier, is that the crown's legacy becomes collateral in someone else's production schedule. That is why the Royal Ethics Board has quietly drafted a provision titled the Child Image Protection Act, Windsor Edition, which would legally prevent the use of former royal descendants in any branded content, advertising, or document exploiting their former royal status. If passed and recognized by Parliament under the Media Responsibility Bill, any violation could trigger sanctions against platforms that distribute such content in the UK and other Commonwealth realms. Interestingly, the King's letter ends not with legal ease, but with a handwritten note about the children. If you cannot return for yourself, then return for them. Let them know where they come from, not through documentaries, but through dinners, not through headlines, but through heritage. End quote. Number 2, end quote. This closing sentiment has reportedly moved Harry more than any other section of the letter. Whether it will be enough to shift his decision is unknown, but one thing is clear. The future of Archie and Lyot is not being written by the past. It is being defined in real time by a father at war with himself. The monarchy has survived abdication, assassination, and abolition attempts. What it cannot survive is internal erosion. Royal historian Dr. Geoffrey Banks. On BBC World the 25th of January, 2026. As the clock ticks down to the 8th of February, 2026, the deadline King Charles III said in his now historic ultimatum, the entire royal household is operating under a state of high alert and controlled silence. There are no press releases, no walkabouts, no public comments, only private movements, tight-lipped aides, and the hum of institutional machinery preparing for either outcome, restoration or permanent severance. According to insiders at Clarence House, a three-phase crisis protocol is now in effect. Phase 1, silent waiting, no outreach from the palace to Monasetto, no emotional intermediaries, no calls. Charles has instructed the family, let the man choose as a man, not as a son. Phase 2, operational realignment. Staff have been ordered to prepare legal documentation for immediate title removal, asset disentanglement, and public F-facing narrative management if Harry declines the terms. Phase 3, succession streamlining. Prince William and the Privy Council have reportedly begun drafting an updated order of succession and public communications plan, including a pre-recorded statement from Charles to be released within 48 hours of the deadline if Harry fails to respond. While some observers interpret the palace's quiet as cold, royal officials insist it is deliberate discipline. The monarchy knows that any further communication could be weaponized, leaked, twisted, or spun as coercion. Charles's approach is modeled after his mother's wartime philosophy. Stand firm, speak once. What makes this moment extraordinary is not just the decision itself, but the method by which it's been delivered. No public spectacle, no orchestrated leaks, no reactive media blitz, just one envelope, 11 pages, and a ticking clock. If Harry fails to respond by 11:59 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on the 8th of February, Music, 2026, the following will occur. A formal statement from Buckingham Palace will be released, citing the prince's non-compliance. An emergency meeting of the Privy Council will be held on February 9 to authorize all legal removals. The Royal Archives and College of Arms will issue a bulletin officially striking the Sussex titles and stylings from all future ceremonial and hereditary records. A public F-facing succession reset act crafted in coordination with Parliament will outline the changes to royal status heirs and the role of non-representing descendants. In other words, silence becomes exile. What will remain when the dust settles? For the monarchy, a restored sense of discipline, modernized clarity, and a permanent boundary drawn. For Harry, a life with his wife but without his past. For Meghan, survival or solitude, depending on how the story is told. For Archie and Lyot, a legacy rewritten, not erased, but altered forever. And for King Charles, a legacy of firm grace, a father who drew a line not out of vengeance, but to protect the house that bears his name. This is not exile, one palace aide whispered. It's closure and it's